Non-nationals advised to leave the hurricane-battered British Virgin Islands. And in sport, not a single ball bowled in the one-off ODI between West Indies and Ireland. I'm Ricardo Roberts, and this is Caribbean in 10 for Wednesday, September 13th. I'll be back with the details in just a moment.
Doing movies, doing a lot of different kind of music, working with a lot of people. I'm in this movie in New York called Sons of Kingston. This movie is called Sons of Kingston. You can check it out on YouTube, Sons of Kingston, or you can log on at www.getthismovie.com. It's like a movie about people who leave from a different country.
The southwest of the island is one step closer to getting its own wastewater treatment plant, thanks to the signing of a tripartite memorandum of agreement among the Tobago House of Assembly, Mount Pleasant Credit Union, and the Water and Sewage Authority, WASA. Decades ago, the credit union acquired the Bonacord estate. They built a sewage plant to treat the wastewater from the homes and businesses on the estate.
A senior British Virgin Islands government official is encouraging non-nationals who can't find work after the damage caused by Hurricane Irma to leave the British Overseas Territory. Vincent Wheatley, the Sister Islands Program Coordinator in the Deputy Governor's Office, made the call even as several CARICOM nationals were among other non-BVI nationals being housed in a community center that had been stripped of its roofing shingles. The building is at risk of being flooded if it rains, as only the woodwork on the roof, which was damaged in some areas, is protecting the occupants from the elements. Wheatley told CMC News that about 100 people remain in shelters on the island, which has a population of 3,500, and many of them are expatriates.
To America and the European countries through helicopter service as well as boat service to Puerto Rico every single day. We had none to the Eastern Caribbean country because Lead hasn't been able to fly. But we've been told that by Thursday or Friday of this week, Lead plans to start its service to Antigua and St. Vincent and to the rest of the Caribbean. We're going to encourage all nationals who can't survive here, who can't find work, to please go back to respective countries and come back at a later date. Those that are willing to stay and stick it out with us, we encourage those able-bodied persons to please stay and help us rebuild.
Meantime, the destruction caused by Irma in St. Martin and the British Virgin Islands has created some benefits for Dominica's cruise industry. Because the hurricane severely damaged the infrastructure in those two territories, the Carnival Fascination cruise ship had to divert and instead called on Dominica yesterday rather. The visit came well ahead of the official October 23rd start of the island's cruise season. Tourism and Urban Renewal Minister Robert Tong says he's not sure how many other cruise ships would be diverted to Dominica, but the island was ready to receive them. The Dominica Hotel and Tourism Association has also advised its members to use the opportunity to put their best foot forward and provide world-class service that would leave a lasting impression and justify return visits. In other news now, over 40,000 legal and illegal Venezuelans are estimated to be in Trinidad and Tobago. It was one of the numbers discussed as stakeholders met at the University of the West Indies to look at the crisis in Venezuela. And the former director of the International Relations Institute has cautioned that this is a national security threat.
Estimates are about 40,000 Venezuelans in the country. There's no authority that has an actual figure, again, based on the fact that, we have porous borders and there isn't any one way to know what the actual figures are.
Rochelle Nakit says this figure was available through immigration and represents an estimated number of both legal and illegal Venezuelan nationals in TNT as of May 2017. It's a number she must keep at the back of her mind. She's a humanitarian and coordinator of the Living Waters Ministry for Migrants and Refugees. But she says the 40,000 is not reflected in the numbers knocking at their doors seeking asylum. Of the 671 asylum seekers in TNT, 149 were from Venezuela, and 15 of those have been recognized.
The Cubans actually still remain the number one group of persons seeking asylum. However, we do expect that by the end of the year it's going to plateau with the Venezuelans, and by early next year we believe there'll be a spike and Venezuelans will become the number one group of persons seeking asylum in Trinidad, that is.
There are some who believe this influx could become a major problem for countries like Trinidad, with its own share of problems.
Saying that with migrants come a number of problems, right? Migrants are used as drug mules. Migrants are exploited for human trafficking, right? Migrants bring all sorts of problems. If they are not monitored and checked properly, they bring all sorts of various things into the country.
Dr. Gonzalez explains over the Chavez era, Venezuela saw a significant spike in all types of crime, especially organized crime.
It is not passing strains that at the same time, over that same period, crime has grown significantly in this country. And I think we need to wake up and smell the coffee.
And that report from CNC3's Vashi Tawari Rupnarain. Stay with us, your Midday Sport is next.
The track layout in the Salina Torre is very special. We start off through the Salina Torre gate, then a U-turn and back through. Then through the Conrad gate and another U-turn. Then a long high-speed straight to the amphitheatre gate. That's where we fly in through the Speed S and come out here. Here you've got to be real careful not to hit the lights.
Like cartoon. That's why I cherish every moment that you give me. Me have to smile every time when you see me. You who hate me and think me I go fight you. You must have mad me no love you. And you have to keep it real with His Majesty. Me I talk about real life honesty. Them only lie to themselves, don't speak honestly. So them can't angle. The people living in a separation. Me can't breathe. Me can't breathe. When the youths can't write and can't read.
Rain forced the abandonment of the one-off one-day international between Ireland and West Indies without a ball being bowled today. A wet outfield caused by heavy overnight rain had initially delayed the start, but the rains eventually returned just before a scheduled inspection at 1:30 p.m. That's about 8:30 a.m. Eastern Caribbean time, forcing officials to call off the contest. Umpires had earlier carried out 3 inspections, but the parts of the outfield remained unfit for play, even though sunny weather prevailed for most of the morning. West Indies are already in danger of failing to qualify automatically for the 2019 Cricket World Cup in England. They are currently 9th in the ODI rankings, with hosts England along with the remaining top 7 teams gaining automatic qualification. They needed to beat Ireland in order to assume the 8th spot in the rankings. West Indies selectors have retained all 17 players from the failed World Cup campaign for a 10-day training camp ahead of the upcoming series against Sri Lanka women. Brittany Cooper, who was surprisingly overlooked for the World Cup trip, has been added to the contingent, which will be in camp in Trinidad from September 25th to October 4. Chief Selector Courtney Brown said the region's limited player pool meant heavy importance was being placed on training camps in order to determine final selection. While Cooper has been called up, experienced fellow Trinidadian Stacey King remains. That's Caribbean in 10. Good afternoon.